I want people to know that if they come into the United States illegally, they're getting out. They're going to be brought out. And this serves as a very good deterrent. If people come into our country illegally, they're going out.
Welcome back. That was President Trump defending these mass immigration raids this week in Mississippi that targeted undocumented workers at 7 food processing plants. Not the companies themselves, by the way. Nearly 700 people were rounded up in what officials said was the biggest single-day one-state sweep in U.S. history. More than 300 are still in custody. Schools and Child Protective Services were never given advance warning of the raids in order to keep the operation secret. And that meant some children came home from school to find their parents missing. Some people couldn't even get into their house because their parents weren't there to unlock it. Some parents have been released from custody, but others are still detained. Meanwhile, federal authorities are still not saying whether businesses who employed these workers would be facing any consequences. It's sort of the most head-shaking part of this. My colleague Gabe Gutierrez joins us now live from Jackson, Mississippi. So, Gabe, number one, who's in charge of these children right now?
And that is a big question, Chuck, that we keep asking all day. The answer is many of the children are now being taken care of by other family members. For example, some of the children may have had one parent detained, and so now they're being taken by the other parent. But all the parents, all the families we've spoken with today say that they have had no access to their loved ones and really have no idea where they are. We're told about 400 people or so that are still in ICE custody are being detained in facilities here in Mississippi and in Louisiana, Chuck.
And explain why the government hasn't really been able to explain why the companies themselves, they won't say whether the companies are going to be charged with any crime. They're not explaining why the companies themselves aren't the first ones targeted. Why is it that the workers were targeted before the companies who did the hiring?
And that is what many people here are asking as well. Now, the companies have come back and said that they are cooperating with law enforcement. 2 of them say that they use the E-Verify program to weed out the workers. That's how they use that government program to hire them. But there's no firm answer. They can't come back and say, you know, how so many workers, if they are in fact undocumented, how they were able to be with these companies for so long. And federal authorities at this point are not giving any straight answers whether these companies might face criminal charges. They have said it's an ongoing investigation, but if there's any, if you look at precedent, it's very rare that companies that employ undocumented workers on a large scale face any consequences, Chuck.
Was there any, have you been able to find out from any of your sources in government, is there any regret having done this raid this week, given the heightened fear factor many Hispanic Americans have post El Paso?
Well, Chuck, if you heard the president today, it seemed that, he not only called it a deterrent, at least from his demeanor, he seemed that, he was watching some of the videos that were coming out of here. And Chuck, you have to remember, this is what, many of in the Trump administration or Trump supporters, they voted for this. They see the, when they talk about immigration, this is something that they wanted. They do not want to see undocumented immigrants in this country. And as painful as it is for some of these families, they think it's something that just needs to happen. But what I can tell you, Chuck, here, these local communities in and around Jackson, Mississippi, the scope of this has really just shocked some of these people here, some of these communities. We spoke with the local superintendent here that said that yesterday more than 100 children in his small school district were absent, several dozen absent today. There's a palpable sense of fear in these communities, and they really don't know where this goes. Many of these children are still searching for their parents and will be for weeks to come, Chuck.
Right. Gabe, as you just pointed out, the president made it clear he does view these actions, and he wants them public because he believes they're deterrents. Anyway, Gabe Gutierrez on the ground for us in Mississippi. Thank you. Hello, YouTubers. If you're watching this, it means you've checked out our channel, so thank you. Now do me a favor, subscribe by clicking on that button down there. Click on any of the videos to watch the latest interviews and highlights from MTP Daily and MSNBC. You can get more Beat the Press content every morning in the First Read newsletter. If you're tired of content that you don't know anything about where it came from, you don't have to have that problem with us. NBC News, MSNBC, MTP and the Meet the Press mindset right here for you on YouTube. Subscribe now.